Good morning and afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first PowerPoint presentation online. I can't believe it. Shocking. Welcome to PowerPoint technology for March. So, today we're going to be learning counting atoms. So, as always with the PowerPoint, you should take out your notebook. So, you can always pause the video and take out your notebooks. And yes, there will be a quiz at the end, so definitely take out your notebooks. Okay, so today we're going to be learning about counting atoms. So, first, we need to know if it's an element or a compound. So, CH4, is that an element or compound? I can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Oh, I forgot. I'm online. So, the answer is that is a compound because it's got two or more elements in it. How about Na? What's that? Oh, that's an element because it's got one capital letter and one lowercase letter, and it's found on the periodic table. Oh, here's H2O. That's water, which we know already. And it has two elements. And it's got this little number there. Oh, well, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. And then we got KNO3. And look at that. It's got parentheses on it. That must be one of those polyatomic ions. So we're going to talk about those also in a few minutes. Then we have xenon. What's that? It's an element. How about CO? Ooh, that's tricky. Looks a lot like the one on the bottom there. CO, one capital, one lowercase, is one element. CO with two capitals is a compound. That was a sneaky one just to see if you were paying attention. And then O2, is that an element or compound? And Cl2, those are, I can't hear you again, those are elements. But Mr. G, they've got little twos on after it. What does that mean? Well, remember, those are the diatomic elements. So they are elements even though there's two of them, which we will get to in a minute. So they are di, meaning two. Remember that naming thing again? Oh, yeah. Okay, so now let's count some atoms. So water, and here's a picture of water that we saw on the first screen. And we have, water has two H's and one O. So each element or each compound has two H's, and you can tell by looking at the subscript, which is important in a second, and then there's one oxygen. Okay, so if we look down here, the subscript tells you how many atoms are in each element, and there's an invisible one hiding there. So remember when we did the crisscross and the ones disappeared? Well, guess what? Here they are again. They're still disappearing. So there's a one there, but you can't see it. It's invisible. We just assume there's a one there. Okay. Now, of course, what would be a PowerPoint without a cat meme? And of course, you'll get to see some real live cats at some point in time in the near future. What kind of fish is made of two sodium atoms? Tuna. Get it? Tuna. Yes, the jokes are bad, even if I'm not in school. And what's that two in the front? Well, we'll find out in a second because that's not a subscript. That is called a, drum roll please, coefficient. So the numbers in the front are coefficients, and the number that's a little tiny number is a subscript. So what is a coefficient to a subscript? And jeepers, what's this title? Click to add title. I guess I won't add a title. Okay, so what is the subscript? We know about the little subscript. That's the baby number there. And it tells you how many atoms are in a molecule. So remember, those are the numbers that are down that we wrote before. So what's the number in the front that's red? That's the coefficient. That tells you how many molecules there are. Now wait a minute. Let me go back to the first screen. Did you write that down? I hope you did because you're going to need it for the quiz in a little bit. So that's a subscript tells you how many atoms are in the molecule, and then the coefficient tells you how many molecules there are. Now we come to the polyatomic ions, which are tricky little buggers, which you remember from before. So the polyatomic ion, remember what happens in the polyatomic ion stays in the polyatomic ion because it may have the coronavirus. So it stays in the parentheses. So that's going to stay in the parentheses, but what is this number on the outside? That 3. Well, that 3 tells you that there's 3 SO4s, 3 sulfates. So because there's 3 of them, you have to multiply the whole thing by 3. So what does this mean when we're counting? Okay, well, let's take a look at the Al. Al is easy. There's 2 of them, and there's the answer there. But S, how many are there? Well, it looks like there's only 1, but wait a minute. It's in parentheses. So it's really not 1. It's really 1 times 3, which is 3. Makes it a little challenging here. And then oxygen, oh boy, it's got a subscript and another subscript, which is really confusing. But all you're doing is multiplying. So there's 3 of the 4. So it's 3 times 4 equals 12. Now this is going to get even super more challenging when we hit the coefficients in front of there. But I think you know what's going to happen. So let's take a peek. Oh boy, lots of practice. Goody, goody, goody. And here's all the answers. So let's see. In CaF2, there's 1 Ca and 2 Fs. Well, that was easy. BeOH, well, there's 1 Be. And how many O's? Well, there's 2 OHs, the hydroxides. There's 2 of them. So you have to multiply everything on the inside by 2. So there's 2 oxygens and 2 hydrogens. Here's what's that? A coefficient in the front. So there's 2 times whatever's here. So there's 2 N's. That's easy. 2 times 1 is 2. But, that's tricky. There's 2 of them, but you got to multiply that by 2, which makes it 4. Here's aluminum sulfate. That's kind of easy. We did that practice before. We had Al. Wait a minute. I think I missed a PowerPoint. Hold on. I'm going to go back. Sorry. This is the easy one first. So CH4, we got C and H. There's 1 C and 4 H's. So that's easy. Goes 1 C and 4 H's. So Na3PO4, that's easy. Mr. G, there's no parentheses. I know. Sorry, I left it off. There's 3 NAs. There's 1 P and 4 O's because there's no numbers outside the parentheses. Here's the example. So here we have Al with 2. That's easy. So there's 2 ALs. The S's, there's 1 of them, but there's a parentheses with a 3 on the outside, so you got to multiply that by 3. So it's 3 times 1, which is 3. And then O, which is a little trickier, there's 4 of them in the sulfate, but you got to multiply that by 3, so 3 times 4 is 12. So there's 12 O's. So run it down again. There's 2 ALs, 3 S's, and 12 O's. Now we're making it confusing by throwing a coefficient. I mentioned it before in the previous sneaky slide. 3 in the front. So you got to multiply everything by 3. So now there's 2 ALs, but now you got to remember to multiply that by 3. So this is the distributive property. Oh, that math stuff. I hate that math stuff. So there's 6 ALs. There's 6 ALs. How many S's? Well, there's 1 here times 3 times 3 again. So there's 9 of them. Oh, boy. And this one's really tough. There's 4 oxygens times 3, so that's 12. And then times 3 again, that's 36. Oh boy, I hope we don't have too many of those on the next slide, but there were a few, so let's go back to that slide. Okay, so we saw the aluminum sulfate. We did that one already. There's 2 ALs. There's 3 times S, so 3 times 1 is 3 S's, and 3 times 4 is 12 oxygens. This one is a little confusing because there's N's spread out over here. I won't do that to you later. So there's 2 N's hiding in here. So there's 4 H's and 3 O's. So don't worry about those double N things. I won't do that to you later. Okay, So we have S and 2. So there's 2 S's. But wait a minute. There's a coefficient again, so I got to multiply that out. So the coefficient, there's 2 S's times 3 is 6 S's. And then F, there's 2 F's, but you got to multiply that by the coefficient. There's 3, so there's 6 F's. So here's the answer, by the way. Okay, Na, there's 2 of them. That's easy. C, there's 1 of them because there's no number outside the parentheses. There's no parentheses again. Oh, man, I left it out again. I can't believe it. And then, and the PowerPoint is almost over, so I'm not going to start all over again. And then we got 3 O's, and we don't have to multiply by anything, so that's easy. And then let's see. Oh, here's a coefficient. We got to watch out for that little bugger. So we got 5 C's, because there was 1 there, so 5 C's, and 5 times 4 H's is 20 H's. Wow, that's a lot of H's. And then we got C. It's confusing here. COO. Cool. So CO is cobalt. That is 1 element. So there's 4 of those. So there's 4 COs. And there's 4 O's, which is 4 O's. And then, oh boy, this is the tough one again. This one's got the coefficient on the outside, and then a parentheses with the polyatomic, which is really tough. So we got to do a lot of multiplying here. So pay close attention to these little guys because they're tricky. So we got Mg. There's 2 of them, and that's easy because there's no little numbers. There's no subscripts, so that's easy. 2 Mg's. The N's, it's in a parentheses, so we got to multiply it by that number on the outside. So there's 2 N's, but then we got to multiply it again by the 2 on the outside. Oh boy, so there's 4 N's. And there's the answer, 4 N's. And we know that's going to be a big one. So let's see, there's 3 O's times 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. And then we got to multiply it again by that 2. So we end up with 12 oxygens. So hopefully you guys got that. And we will have a practice that you're going to do the quizzes afterwards now that you've seen it. Now hopefully you remember how to do it. And if not, you can always go back to the PowerPoint, which I'm going to include. And if you like to listen to my voice, you can also listen to the video over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, as many times as you want. Okay? So good luck and see you guys tomorrow.